Hello, dear viewer. This video is going to address another reason why, while there might be a lot of stupid Republicans, there are no smart Democrats. Specifically, I'm going to talk about Joe Biden's pandering to Muslims. Now, I have nothing against Muslims. Some of my best friends are Muslim. But Americans should be a little cautious about mixing religion and politics. And unfortunately, because of the way things are today, at this point in time in history, Islam has a lot of political attachments to it. It's not just purely a religion. And I know this is debatable, and this is probably a topic better addressed in another video. But because of little minor twists and turns in history, things go off in different directions. Islam did not catch on with the Age of Enlightenment like a lot of the Western countries did in the 1700s just because of the printing press couldn't handle Arabic text. The issue is that right here and now, the way things are in history, it might not be a very good idea for Joe Biden to resort to trying to pander to Muslims. I understand a great philosopher said that religion is regarded as true by the common person, false by the philosopher, and useful by the politician. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, and so I don't think that there's some hidden agenda with Joe Biden. I don't believe there's some nefarious agenda that Joe Biden is entangled with. I just think he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, this video is going to be a short collection of useful clips. The first one is going to be about Bridget Gabriel.
I am holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood plan for the destruction of the United States, written 5/22/1991. The title of the plan is مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام للجماعة في أمريكا الشمالية. You all got that? There will be a quiz. It is titled the Muslim Brotherhood, an explanatory memorandum for the general strategic goal for the group, the Muslim Brotherhood in North America, written 5/22/1991. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down, hello, my best friend, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts for Muslim Americans and Muslim American organizations raising money to support terrorist organizations in the Middle East to the tune of millions. And I'm just going to read you a paragraph of this plan, so it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. They talk about the settlement in the United States. And I have to put my glasses on because God in His wisdom decided I turned 49 and I needed reading glasses. Wait until I get to heaven. I'm convinced He's a man. If He was a woman, He would know I would look better without glasses. Understanding the role of the Muslim Brother in North America. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Is this clear? They don't mince words, do they? But the most important page of this document is the last page. Because in the last page, they list 29 front Islamic organizations set up in the United States with the specific goal of sabotaging America from within and destroying America by our own hands. And I'm just going to name a few. Number one on the list is ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. And if you're familiar with ISNA, it's because they are now advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. So we not only have the fox watching the hen house, we have the fox inside the White House dictating policy in the ear of the president. Number two on the list is the MSA, the Muslim Student Association. The Muslim Student Association has more chapters on American college campuses than the Democrats and the Republicans combined. Number 8 on the list is NATE, the North American Islamic Trust. The North American Islamic Trust owns the deed to over 90% of American mosques in the United States. That is a problem. Now, what makes this very important, and I'm going to focus in the last 5 minutes on education, is to show you how they set up every organizations in this plan to destroy America, focusing on every sector of our society. Organizations focused on publishing, organization focused on media, organization focused on education, with the strict purpose of doing sabotage to America from within. And I'm not talking military. We know that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all the others want to attack the United States and do damage to the United States. As a matter of fact, we in the United States have 150 terrorist organizations right now operating in America. 5 of them are operating right here in the District of Columbia. And our government, and these are the ones we know about.
There's a lot of videos and there's a lot of information I could present as an introduction to Islam and some of its shortcomings, but I think this one should suffice.
For every opinion or belief someone may hold, there will be another party who just as strongly oppose that idea. Both sides usually claim to sit with the best arguments, the real facts, and the correct worldview, and ironically, both sides regard the other as being indoctrinated, blind to the obvious and outright stupid. Most people only expose themselves to information that matches their own worldview. It is uncomfortable to do otherwise. Still, we would like to give you some surprising information about Islam. We also urge you to look further than only mainstream media, and if you can find the time for it, read the Quran yourself. To get you started, we'd like to present you 3 things you probably did not know about Islam. 1. Islam has not been hijacked. That Islam has been hijacked is what non-Muslims naturally assume, because they assume all religions are the same. The reason non-Muslims are so easily confused is that most of us don't realize the difference between the Quran and every other religious book we are familiar with. The Christian Bible is a collection of writings from various authors, written sometimes hundreds of years apart, with parables, advice and dreams, all collected together into one book. Same with the Jewish Torah. Even those of us in the West, who are neither Christians nor Jews, are still familiar enough with these religions to know this much, and therefore we assume the same is true for the Quran. But the Quran is only one book written by one man in his own lifetime. It is meant to be taken literally, and it is not full of symbolism or vague analogies. It is mostly direct commands. Of course, the Quran contains contradictory statements, just like other religious books. But the Quran itself provides the reader with a way to know what to do with the contradictions. It's explained in the Quran that if you have 2 passages that contradict each other, the one written later supersedes the one written earlier. Most Westerners are unaware that the peaceful, tolerant passages were written early in Muhammad's prophetic career. According to the Quran, those passages have been abrogated by later, more violent and less tolerant passages. So, when most Westerners hear jihadists quoting violent passages from the Quran, and then peaceful Muslims quoting peaceful passages, they interpret that the way they would if someone was quoting the Bible or the Torah. They think to themselves, oh, there must be many different and contradictory passages, like there are in other religious books, so Muslims can pick and choose what they like and justify whatever actions they want to take. But the Quran is nothing like that. There is no picking and choosing. It says very explicitly and in no uncertain terms that a Muslim must not alter or ignore any part of its very clear and direct message, or they will burn in a fiery torment forever. 2. Striving to institute worldwide Sharia law is a religious duty. Many people don't realize how politically oriented Islam is at its core. In fact, Islam is less of a religion than it is a religious ideology. It includes a mandatory and highly specific legal and political plan for the whole society, Sharia. There is no separation between the religious and the political in Islam. Rather, Islam and Sharia constitute a totalitarian means of ordering society at every level, including ritual worship, transactions and contracts, morals and manners, beliefs and punishments. In the Quran, Allah makes it clear that man-made governments, such as a democracy, and free speech, such as criticizing the Quran, are abominations and must be eliminated. The modern expression creeping Sharia is used to describe the slow, deliberate and methodical advance of Islamic law in non-Muslim countries. Official Sharia courts already operate in the UK, handling cases ranging from divorce and financial disputes to domestic violence. Attempts to introduce Sharia in the legal system in Germany, Sweden and other European countries are ongoing. While Sharia already has a foot in our door in the matter of minor disputes like inheritance and domestic violence, it should concern you that Sharia commands that drinkers and gamblers should be whipped, allows husbands to hit their wives, allows an injured plaintiff to exact legal revenge, literally an eye for an eye, commands that a thief must have a hand cut off, commands that homosexuals must be executed, orders unmarried fornicators to be whipped and adulterers to be stoned to death, orders death for both Muslim and non-Muslim critics of Muhammad, the Quran and even Sharia itself, orders apostates to be killed, commands offensive, aggressive and unjust jihad. As written in the Quran, Sharia is the law of Allah. Any other form of government is a sin. It is the duty of every Muslim to keep striving until all governments have been converted to Sharia law. Three, Muslims are allowed to deceive non-Muslims if it helps Islam. For non-Muslims, this principle, called taqiyya, is another surprising concept of Islam. While most other religions speak highly of truthfulness, the Quran instructs Muslims to lie to non-Muslims about their beliefs and their political ambitions to protect and spread Islam. There are many examples of today's Islamic leaders saying one thing in English for the Western press and then saying something entirely different to their own followers in Arabic a few days later. Deceiving the enemy is always useful in war, and Islam is at war with a non-Islamic world until the whole world follows Sharia law. All non-Muslims living in non-Islamic states are therefore enemies. So deceiving Westerners is totally acceptable, even encouraged, if it can forward the goals of the spread of Islam. As a recent example, the Islamic American Relief Agency were seemingly raising money for orphans, but in fact giving the money to terrorists. They deceived good-hearted Western infidels into giving money to organizations that were actively killing Western infidels. Do the research yourself. This is not an isolated case. Islam as a religion of peace. Muslim organizations worldwide often declare that Islam is a religion of peace. But what does that really mean? It seems easy for a Muslim to quote a peaceful verse from the early parts of the Quran, while, by following the principle of taqiyya, neglecting to mention the fact that it has been officially abrogated by later, more violent verses. According to the Quran, the world will be at peace only when Islam and Sharia reign in every country, and never until then. This is why every Muslim can truthfully say that Islam is a religion of peace. If any of these points took you by surprise, then there is surely much more you still don't know. This subject will affect you in the near future, so take the chance to inform yourself now before it does.
Okay, I like to just cut to the chase and go directly to where Joe Biden is pandering to Muslims. But before I do, I want to mention these three books. If you really want to know about Joe Biden and what he's really like, not just the polished image of a professional politician trying to win you over, you should take a look at these three books. You should know what kind of a commander-in-chief he's going to make. If he had any idea about military command, he should have told his boss when he was vice president. And you should look at these other two books to get an idea of how he has really profited through proxy by being in politics at the taxpayer's expense. Basically, human beings are influenced by the culture they live in. And sadly, Joe Biden started off being in the Senate at a real young age, and he's just gotten familiar with the game and how to run the system and profit from it. Politicians in general, and Democratic politicians in particular, have evolved into being good performers in order to get votes. But once they're in power, they're really out for themselves. And this is true with Joe Biden more than any other politician. He doesn't really know the specifics of Islam. All he knows is that there are certain Muslims that he wants his votes from, and he's going to say whatever it takes to get them. As I understand it, he was giving a speech to some sort of million Muslim voter event of some sort. At this point, I'd like to jump into those examples of how he was pandering to Muslims.
Look, one of the things I think is important, I wish we taught more in our schools about the Islamic faith.
Are you fucking retarded? The hell's the matter with you?
I wish we talked about all the great confessional faiths. It's one of the great confessional faiths. And what people don't realize, it's one of my avocation is theology, don't realize is that we all come from the same root here in terms of our fundamental basic beliefs.
Yeah.
Allow me to state the obvious here. What is taught in public schools, and that means elementary schools as well as high schools, is determined by parents and teachers. There's a PTA board that decides whether or not certain material is appropriate to teach young people. And that is not always necessarily the truth. It is what parents think their children should believe in order to be good and upstanding members of society. What Joe Biden is really saying here, whether he knows it or not, is support for a complete revolution of society. Does he believe that the majority of Christians are going to give an honest, fair, and unbiased instruction on religion in a public school system? If it was intellectually honest, it would be actually critical of Islam and look at it not through the lens of spirituality, but the lens of history. YouTuber Abdullah Shamir has produced content that shows that when Muslims travel to the West and seek out a master's or even doctorate degree in Islamic theology, they often become enlightened and end up apostatizing from Islam. They end up leaving Islam. So if Joe Biden's suggesting we give a historic and honest theological study of Islam in high schools, then he's unknowingly supporting the further apostasy of Islam. I don't think this is what Joe Biden's trying to suggest. Like many Democrat politicians, he's suggesting an undercurrent, and that undercurrent is only implied, and so that he doesn't have to stand by it. And the implication is that in order for Islam to be taught in public schools, it would require a cultural shift, a cultural change and acceptance of Islam in society. And that is where the ugly pandering lies. I don't know if he honestly thinks that this is benign or not. But it is my opinion, given the information that I've provided in this video, that non-Muslims should be offended by this suggestion.
I don't have to tell any of you that this is the most important election in modern American history. Muslim communities were the first to feel Donald Trump's assault on black and brown communities in this country with his vile Muslim ban.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
I don't know why we let Democratic politicians get away with lying so much, and I don't know why we don't hold our news media accountable at all. Maybe it's because we live in the information age and they're not needed anymore, and so they just serve as entertainment for the gullible. But no, we don't have a ban, a Muslim ban on Muslim countries. The most populated Muslim countries are not even on the list of banned countries. The president only banned countries that pose a threat to our national security. It's actually dangerous to have a president who doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know what he's saying, and might get us into serious trouble by saying the wrong thing the wrong way at the wrong time and embolden our enemies and confuse our allies. And I'm going to let David Wood explain this next bit for us.
Hadith from the Prophet Muhammad instructs, whomever among you sees a wrong, let him change it with his hand. If he is not able, then with his tongue. If he is not able, then with his heart.
What a great quote. I wonder what Muhammad meant by it. Did Muhammad mean what Joe Biden apparently thinks he meant? Let's find out. In Sahih Muslim 177, a small dispute breaks out because a Muslim is about to deliver a sermon before the prayer. Another Muslim objects and points out that Muhammad would do the sermon after the prayer. So we have to do things the way Muhammad commanded. And then there's this quote, I heard the Messenger of Allah say, whoever among you sees an evil action, let him change it with his hand by taking action. If he cannot, then with his tongue by speaking out, and if he cannot, then with his heart by hating it and feeling it is wrong. And that is the weakest of faith. So far, so good, but sometimes we have multiple hadiths, and one hadith will expand upon another hadith. Maybe we should check and see if Muhammad explains himself. The next hadith, Sahih Muslim 178, is basically a repeat of 177, but the one after that goes into a little more detail about what Muhammad means by the hand, the tongue, and the heart. Sahih Muslim 179. It was narrated from Abu Rafi, from Abdullah bin Masud, that the Messenger of Allah said, there is no prophet whom Allah sent to any nation before me, but he had disciples and companions among his nation who followed his path and obeyed his commands. Then after them came generations who said what they did not do and did what they were not commanded to do. Whoever strives against them with his hand is a believer. Whoever strives against them with his tongue is a believer. Whoever strives against them with his heart is a believer. Beyond that, there is not even a mustard seed's worth of faith. So, prophets are sent to their nations and they give commands. They establish laws. Their followers obey their commands. But later generations come along and they don't obey the commands. So the true followers of the prophet have to strive against these rebellious people with the hand, i.e. by physically forcing them to obey God's law, or if they can't strive with the hand because their enemies are more powerful than they are, then they can strive with the tongue, i.e. by preaching and condemning and rebuking and winning support. Or if it's too dangerous for them to verbally condemn the rebellious generation because they might get killed or something, then they can strive with the heart, i.e. by inwardly despising the evil and rebellion against the prophet, and by longing for the day when the prophet's commands can be enforced by the hand. According to Muhammad, if you strive with your hand, you're a believer, a Muslim. If you strive with your tongue, you're a believer, a Muslim. If you strive with your heart, you're a believer, a Muslim. But if you don't at least strive with your heart, if you don't at least hate the rebellion against the Prophet's laws, you have no real faith. You're not a Muslim. Now, when it comes to Muhammad, he's not simply a prophet sent to a particular nation. He's God's final prophet, and he's sent to the entire world. His commands are for everyone. There's a word for the collection of legal commands Muhammad brought. The word is Sharia. So Muhammad brought Sharia, and his followers obeyed his commands. But other people don't obey his commands. What are his followers supposed to do? They're supposed to strive against disobedience and rebellion with the hand or with the tongue, or at the very least, with the heart. Do you know what the Arabic word for strive here is? All the Arabic speakers who are watching right now certainly do. The Arabic word is jahadahum, i.e., wage jihad. Muhammad brought Sharia, and his followers have to establish and enforce it. They establish and enforce it through different forms of jihad. There's jihad of the hand, establishing and enforcing Sharia through fighting and carrying out the legal punishments. Think ISIS. There's jihad of the tongue, preaching and condemning and calling for Sharia. Think Anjem Choudhury. And there's jihad of the heart, hating the evil around you and longing for the day when it will be destroyed. So, Joe Biden just told Muslims,
Hadith from the Prophet Muhammad instructs, whomever among you sees a wrong, let him change it with his hand. If he is not able, then with his tongue. If he is not able, then with his heart.
any Muslim who actually knows his sources and understands his religion just heard Joe Biden say, Muhammad commanded you to kill apostates and to kill homosexuals and to chop the hands off of thieves and to terrorize the unbelievers. So you need to obey him to whatever extent you're able, depending on your status in society. The United States of America is in rebellion against the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, so wage whatever form of jihad you can against it, because if you don't, you're not a real Muslim. Probably not what he intended, but that's what informed Muslims just heard him say. Now, there are a couple of possibilities here. Joe Biden's speechwriter might be a total moron who did a Google search for great quotes from the Prophet Muhammad and put this quote into the speech without realizing what the quote is actually about. A more disturbing possibility is that an informed Muslim wrote that speech for Biden and that it was a coded message to other informed Muslims. The message would be something like, "This guy will say whatever we tell him to say. To prove it, we'll have him call for jihad against his own country. Vote for him because he's ours now." For those of you who are cheering because I just criticized Joe Biden and raised a disturbing possibility about why he accidentally called for jihad against America, and for those of you who are freaking out because I just criticized Joe Biden and raised a disturbing possibility about why he accidentally called for jihad against America, let me say, this is not about Republican versus Democrat. George W. Bush said some of the dumbest things ever about Islam. This isn't about party. This is about stupid and dangerous. And whatever he was in the past, Joe Biden, right now, in 2020, is completely, utterly, totally stupid and very, very dangerous.
This video is the 9th video in a series that I'm making. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of videos in this series because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of information that isn't being told. But the criticisms against Joe Biden aren't contrived. They aren't invented whole cloth. They're not things taken out of context. They're actual quotes. They're actual problems, and there's actual importance to them. I think in the United States, our education system has been a disservice to us because in elementary school, we're taught to vote for the most popular kid, the kid that we like the most. Student council is not recognized as having any real power or authority. It's just a popularity contest. Maybe the school system naively thinks that we're getting kids used to voting, and that later when they become more mature, they'll understand the seriousness of it. You're actually voting for someone who can do the job the best rather than who you like the best. And this concerns me, this worries me greatly. When Hillary Clinton was running for president, I would get in debates with her supporters, and eventually it reached a conclusion where the voter I was conversing with would confess that there wasn't anything that I could say that would ever change their mind. They were passionately devoted to their death, and it wouldn't even matter how bad they're going to be. We vote for a president, we don't vote for a king. We don't vote for someone that we're going to lay down our lives for. They are supposed to work for us. We are not supposed to work for them. And in this election cycle, one of the persons I was conversing with on Twitter, and who, by the way, had lied and misrepresented himself, eventually told me the same thing, that there wasn't anything I could do to make him change his mind. And it's disturbing that when I do polls online, that if one of his supporters actually knew by some magic that him being president would cause another 9/11 style attack, would you still want to vote for him? An overwhelming number of these people would say yes. Well, this has to end. This has to stop. Otherwise, we're just dooming ourselves. We're just knowingly and willingly creating our own demise. Now, there's a few more videos I'd like to show you, and this is one that I actually passed around a little bit on social media. The Bin Laden family is a huge clan, and one of his sons actually left the terror organization very early, and he is very anti-terror, but I think when he speaks we should pay attention to him. And the same is the case for Noor bin Laden, who is Osama bin Laden's niece, who is also pro-American. Just because someone has the last name bin Laden, that doesn't mean they're a terrorist. Like I said, it's a large clan, and before Osama bin Laden was a serious threat to the United States, the bin Laden group was actually looked upon by our country as something admirable and something respectable. The bin Laden group was considered a very noble and noteworthy group of engineers and businessmen. But here's a couple family members that I think we should listen to.
Okay, now to an ABC News exclusive and a disturbing warning today from the son of Osama bin Laden. ABC's Lara Satrakian joins me now to explain. Hi, Lara.
Hi, Todd.
Where did you catch up with Omar bin Laden, and what exactly was his warning?
Well, we found him in an undisclosed Arab country. He didn't want us to say where he is because he's been bounced around from capital to capital. There's a tremendous taboo to any country who takes him in. What he warned was something very chilling, a sense that of the jihadis he knew, of the next generation, we could be facing something much more dangerous than we've seen under his father. Let's take a listen to what he said.
And what I knew from my father and from the other people around my father, I think my father is the most kind one between them, because some of them very, very worse mentality. They want more problem and sneak problem and this kind of things.
He was clearly conflicted, especially in Arab culture where it is a taboo to criticize your father, to even disagree with him. Clearly, Omar stands in opposition to everything his father practiced. He's in blue jeans and designer T-shirts. We met over pizza. His father wouldn't even allow him to drink soft drinks as a kid. He shunned everything about America. I asked Omar, is there anything your father likes about the U.S.? He said, the weapons. That's about it. So he stands in clear contradiction. He preaches peace, but he has a very, very difficult time with the emotions that he conveyed to me and with the sense of what he's endured.
The 2020 U.S. election, we are less than 2 months away from the day of voting. Both sides are working overtime to tilt the narrative in their favor. And currently, the narrative seems to have shifted in Donald Trump's favor, thanks to an unusual admirer of the U.S. president. Her name is Noor bin Laden, the niece of Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks. Noor has suggested that only Donald Trump can save America from another 9/11. For those of you who do not know of her, Noor bin Laden is an author. She's based in Switzerland. She spells her name differently, different from her infamous uncle, and she considers herself an American at heart. Recently, Noor bin Laden gave her first ever interview to the New York Post, and she leveled some stinging charges against the Democrats, but was all praises for Donald Trump. One excerpt from this interview is making headlines, and allow me to quote, ISIS proliferated under the Obama-Biden administration, leading to them coming to Europe. Trump has shown that he protects America and us by extension from foreign threats by obliterating terrorists at the root and before they get a chance to strike, unquote. She may have a point there. The Trump administration has indeed worked on further improving America's defense capabilities, but
Now I'd like to share with you the video clip that inspired this entire video. It was a moment during the first presidential debate of 2020 when Joe Biden said the Arabic word inshallah, which means God willing. Now, it's supposed to be solemn and humble and meek. So it's supposed to be something that a faithful Muslim would say. It's a very religious term. It's not necessarily a cultural thing. It's a religious term. And so for Joe Biden to say it is a very weird and strange thing. He's pandering not to the Muslims, but he's pandering to Islam. And that should not be a good thing. That shouldn't be something that a presidential candidate should do, to invoke religion like this, and especially one which denies its members from leaving that religion. It's not really an American kind of thing, because Islam is a religion that mixes politics with religion. It is political. And the politics of Islam denies one of our fundamental rights, which is freedom of religion. And I don't know how else I can illustrate the fact that Joe Biden shouldn't be president of the United States. I know that I'm going to have to make more videos to debunk all the garbage about Trump, but the criticism against Biden is not garbage.
To see it, and you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, and you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just say something. To see it. But let me just tell you.
Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you.
The focus of this video has been Joe Biden's pandering to Islam that was inspired by him using the word inshallah during the debates. I briefly touched on the fact that he has vowed to undo the president's ban on jihadists traveling to the United States. That requires a separate video and a more focused one as well. I'd like to end this video with something that I stumbled upon, which was the fact that there was one ex-Muslim that actually took serious offense to Joe Biden using the word inshallah. So enjoy.
Hello everyone, and peace of Christ to all of you. We heard yesterday in the debate, Joe Biden, he is using the word inshallah. And I noticed that some people are really upset for Biden is using it, which is stupid of him, by the way. And that will make him lose more vote by using that word. Because people will start wondering, I mean, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he using such a word? For a false god, and he is supposedly, not a Muslim, right? But for me, I see it in a different way, and I'll explain to you. You see, if you look at the context of the debate, Joe Biden was asking Trump, when you are going to show us your tax? Trump, obviously, he don't want to show the tax for now for a reason. Maybe it's a good reason for him not to show. It's a good reason for Biden to ask for it. However, when Trump obviously hesitating to show the tax he paid, which maybe because it's so small, and Trump he keep avoiding answering the question, which is obvious. Biden said to him, "Inshallah, you will reveal," which means it will never happen. Which means that you are false, the same as the false God Allah. Your promise is false. In the Middle East, we use that, and look like he is learning this from a Middle Eastern person close to him. Somehow, somebody is teaching him that this is a joke we in the Middle East we do, making fun of those who they are religious from the Islamic faith, for they never keep a promise, and always they avoid doing the promise by saying, Inshallah. There's a guy, you know, I told you before about a guy who took a picture of him next to a hole in the street, and then when he is 36, he took it first time when he was 6 years old, and 36 years after, still the same hole is there. Why? Because inshallah we will fix it. When the electricity will be fixed? Inshallah tomorrow, but tomorrow never come. Every tomorrow is inshallah. So here Biden actually is making fun of Islam, for you are putting your promise on a false god, so your promise is false, the same as you are. So Biden saying to Trump, you are a false person, the same as Allah. Say inshallah, you will provide your taxes, which means something will never happen. So I find here Biden is trying to insult Islam and Muslims, and this is how it is. Otherwise, you know, when you are being sarcastic, right? Why you are saying inshallah? He used that word in purpose, for this is what they do in the Middle East. They keep saying the word, they never do the act. And he is saying to him, inshallah, which means your promise to release your tax is the same as Allah, the false God. Leave your comment and tell me what do you think about this. And as you see, I'm not, I'm just using the tablet to record for you. And I hope soon we will be back and we will be able to do live on air again. And this debate was very funny and stupid at the same time. You don't see something professional like two kids in the stage. I mean, even the questions are funny and stupid. They ask him about the global warming, and each time we have a president, they ask him about the global warming, as if they can really fix weather, you know. And they want to convince you that there are people who support global warming agenda, which mean to lower the carbon and etc. But all of them, both of them, Trump and Biden and Hillary and Sanders, all of them, they drive fancy cars, and they have like 20 cars when they go in the street with them. And they will not take an airplane unless it's a private airplane. But they, you know, they are for green. You know, they want to save the world. You know, but the villa of Nancy Pelosi need God knows how much electricity. A huge villa, the same as the house of Obama. You know, he have a house of a king. But all of them, they care. You know, they care to save the world from a global warming. You know. It's a joke, you know. This is the debate in America is not really a debate. It's like a comedy. That's why yesterday I wanted to watch a comedy, not to watch a debate. There's no debate in the debate. You know, the one who's asking the question is stupid. The ones who are answering the questions are not answering, and we are the one who is going to be end with people who they are not fit really to be leaders in this country. However, at the end of the day, I will vote for Trump, no matter what, because Trump, he might be, you know, like the saint. We're not voting for a saint for sure, but the evil Trump is 1,000,000 times better than the angel Democrat, for they are fake and fraud, and they never do something right. They speak that they are for freedom, but they are anti-freedom. They speak that they support black people, but when they are in office, they never do anything good for black people. They say that they are anti-racism, but nobody is racist as they are. Go and watch the history of the Democratic Party. You will see they are the one who was fighting, making war against the Republican to keep slavery and to keep the black people slave forever. The truth is, Republican Party is the one who fought and gave the black people equal right to be citizen in this country, and for sure they deserve that. But Democrat is the one who fought against it all the time. And Democrat is a party who ride a wave. So now we have Antifa. So we are with Antifa. Whoever come, they are with him. Doesn't matter. Just vote for us. You know, You are an illegal immigrant, we will give you paper, just vote for us. You are an Arab, we love the Arab, vote for us. But in reality, the story is different. So they are fake, they are hypocrite. You know, they talk about tax, like, you know, Trump, he did not pay much tax. Well, the one who made the tax law is a stupid Biden. And you told him, if you make investment here, investment there, those you can take them from your tax at the end. So even if he pay no dollar, Netflix, a huge company in USA, paid zero, you know, income tax. Zero, you know what zero? Zero. Why? Because you are the one who told them, if you make investment here, if you spend here, all of those things, you can take them out of your tax, so you pay nothing. And then you are asking him why you don't pay tax. He's doing it the legal thing. He is doing the legal law. So the whole argument is stupid. Trump, he is not a good debater. He do not know how to debate, really. I wish the one who debate is his assistant, the Speaker of the White House. Her name, I think, Kylie, this blonde lady. She's so smart, she's so firm. And if she was on the stage, she will whip the nose of Biden in the floor with numbers, with clear answers. But you will see Trump, he keep repeating himself, the economy. I mean, come on, just say something different. And Biden is a God knows for how long they train him for the same. And I'm sure, by the way, the questions they said, we did not give it to this and to that. I believe that this is always garbage. And actually, I noticed that Fox News is taking side with Biden, at least this host, his name is Chris, way against Trump. This is my opinion, and this is what I see. However, the statement of Inshallah, I found that Biden is making insult to Islam, and he is stating clearly that Islam is a cult, Allah is a false God, and Trump, you are a false person. Your promise of providing your tax is the same as a Muslim saying Inshallah, which means will never happen. As you see, I'm using my tablet because I'm away from home, and until we go back, we will post live again. Thank you very much.